Hello, hello, hello. Finally making a video. We're back at this house. I have my squishy toy here. And I have my Cookie Monster. Hello. My beautiful Cookie Monster. And on the couch is my beautiful, beautiful stuffy baby. Yes, my beautiful. He got a new chest harness and a new collar, and he feels really like $1,000,000. Yes, it feels good and relaxed. And I have been depressed for the last week or so, even at the other house as well. You know, I felt rejected by Danny. I don't know who that guy is. If I don't even know if that's Danny, the guy that I've been talking to on Facebook. I think it is Danny. He looks like Danny, but maybe someone else. But anyway, I feel rejected by him, and I have been very, very depressed about it. And I didn't even want to admit it to myself. So until just, I don't know, until after I made that last video at the other house. I realized, oh, that's why I feel so bad. I feel rejected. You know, we can make jokes about it and laugh and stuff like this, but it's very serious, you know. Rejection, feeling rejected is really serious. It feels really, really, really incredibly painful and depressing. And feeling unwanted, you know, all of that brings it up. Some of these guys, they just prank with me. They'll come up to me and they'll act like they like me, right? Which they actually don't. And then they go, prank. I only pranked you. It's fun to do that. Because we know that how vulnerable you are and sensitive, so feels good to make you suicidal and depressed, and that's what I assume that's what they're thinking, right? So I don't know what they're thinking. I honestly don't know. But they will never tell me what they're thinking, what they're feeling. Or if I don't comply with what they want, they become mean. Or if they see me innocently talking to another guy, I don't know what it is, you know. I'm just guessing on this. Or they just like making someone feel really, really hurt and suffer, you know. So it's just fun to them. I don't know what it is. I really don't know. I made this myself, the sweater here, a long time ago, many years. It's nice and wide and cozy. It's good for sleeping in it. It's like a pajama, sort of. I'm making this video sort of like a therapy for myself and to share how I feel. Yeah, I feel dumped. I feel rejected by Danny and it hurts. In the last video I acted like I'm like above this or something. I'm like, I don't care if anyone rejects me, or I don't care if I don't find a boyfriend, I'm okay, I'm gonna make the best out of my life. I'm gonna be living in a greenhouse. I'm gonna get a European Basset Hound. And Paul has the Staffy baby and lives with him in his greenhouse. He's thinking about getting a Tesla house, so that also costs 50,000, which is really amazing. But I want to live in a greenhouse for sure, I really do. But I'm okay if Paul gets a Tesla house. So if that's easier for him. But in my last video I made it look like I'm like above all of this and I don't care if I'm being rejected. I care. I care a lot. My friend Barbara, she used to say, aren't you above all of these things? I said, I am not above anything. All of this bothers me. It hurts my feelings. It makes me feel abandoned, rejected. Humiliated, like, how can I even assume that someone likes me, I turned 57 yesterday. And then I feel like I can't ever even make myself believe that any guy would be interested in me when I'm so old and all of that. And then I think, oh, I don't need a guy, I have my toy, I have my dogs for cuddling. I can make videos to talk about philosophy. I can talk to a few people like Sandy about philosophy. I can share with her my philosophical thoughts and my psychological thoughts and all of that. I don't need a man, But that's a lie. Then I lie to myself when I say I don't need a man. I mean, I'm not desperate, like, I'm kind of desperate, but not that desperate that I would risk being tortured to death. So, I have heart problems and it's very difficult. I get out of breath real fast. I have to grasp for air. Gasp for air. Like that, while I'm talking. Feeling rejected hurts. Feeling dumped hurts. I don't trust anyone. I don't trust men. I like Danny. He's my type. He's real cute and cuddly, but I don't trust him. Or whoever that is, that guy that I've been talking to. Whether that's Danny or not, doesn't matter. I talked to him on video chat. I saw him. He's my type. It made Paul real mad when I talked to that guy. The guy lied about most of the things. He's hiding something. I don't trust him. I don't trust people that lie all the time. Like chronic liars. I can't trust people like that. No way. That still doesn't change the fact that I find him very cute and cuddly. And that I miss flirting with him and all of this. But I don't want to, if he stops writing, then I would rather that he moves on. I wanted to tell him that. But then I'm kind of hooked on him. Okay? I'm radically honest about this. I'm hooked and addicted, and I need him, and yet I'm afraid of him. I want to meet him, yet I can never dare. Then I say I don't like just this internet type of stuff. I wanna really hook up with someone, and he says he wants to hook up with me, and then I have to say I'm afraid, and it just goes on and on and on like this, back and forth. I'm afraid to be tortured to death. That's not how I want to die, I don't deserve that. I don't deserve to be hurt. I deserve someone who's honest with me about everything. I don't want someone who is running away from law enforcement. I don't want a criminal. I don't want some kind of drug dealer or human trafficker. I have the feeling that guy is a human trafficker. I get this impression. I don't trust anyone. I'm paranoid. I want to trust someone really bad, I want for romance, I want a sexual relationship with a cuddly guy like that guy. I think about him and then I say to myself, this is unrealistic. That guy is not on board with anything I stand for. I can't trust him with anything, He already has a girlfriend, I think. He said he doesn't, but constantly the situation is contradictory, where they say something in the chat room and then next time they say they never said that. Because they say something when they're drunk. Next day they don't remember that they said it. So I can't trust any of these people. I'm better off alone. Finding someone who's honest and who I can trust. That is like winning the lottery. So those guys, they already have girlfriends. They don't need a 57-year-old woman on top of it. They have their 30-year-old girlfriends. Why would they look at a 57-year-old woman? And the good ones, they don't cheat anyway, so I get attached, I can think one day, I can fantasize and think, yeah, one night wouldn't be bad, would be nice. Then it can be really horrific, like the last time I dated someone. In 2010 I dated a photographer. It was the date from hell. It was horrible because that guy was old. It's not just women that get older. Men get older too. And trust me, they are not that appealing either anymore when they're old. Okay, so I'm actually doing very well compared to that guy. So, well, that guy is really old now. That guy's like 17 years older than me. That guy could be my dad. That photographer. And that was like 2010. And he was already like looking really shabby, and with warts on. Oh. He didn't even take a shower before he came over. He was dirty. He had dirty clothes on. I mean, he didn't even have the decency to take a shower. Then he had to smoke pot outside of the hotel room, and his mouth smelled bad. Ugh. It smells so bad. Ugh. The way pot smells. Ugh. Any of that marijuana smells so incredibly bad. Cigarettes, all of the smells. It smells dirty, dirty hippie. I'm so tired of dirty hippie shit. I'm tired of it. Yeah, that was also the last time. Then I was with Paul like 2 times after the photographer, and that was it. I said to Paul, I'm sorry, I can't do it anymore. It's totally unfulfilling. Danny's equipped, At least the guy I talked to. That would be something very neat, But I don't trust him. This goes back and forth. Then I fantasize over him, and then I think, oh, that would be so amazing, He's not just extremely hot. He's also cuddly, and he would be sweet in bed, He would be gentle and all of that. At least that's what I make myself believe, and when I think about him. But then, he's a Muslim, and he's part of that group of Corpus Christi, that Muslim group who runs a human trafficking operation and who are spying on people's computers, including mine. So how can I trust him, How can I? No, I don't put the weenie above my security. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not that desperate. Some people may be that desperate. There's also masochistic women and girls out there that are absolutely drawn to aggressive and violent men. I am not. Okay, so I envision that Danny person very gentle and sweet and cuddly. But it stays a fantasy. It remains in a fantasy form because I'm just too afraid. That's all there is to it. I'm too afraid. I don't want any more hectic drama. One night gets me hooked. One night gets me attached already, because most of us women get attached. For men don't, okay? A man can do a one night hook up and move on, never call that woman again. And that was just something to explore. Even if he liked the night, it was like, meh, I don't need another one. He goes back to his girlfriend, who is 20-something. So I don't blame him. But for me, for most women, when we sleep with someone, we do get attached. On so many levels. We share our body with someone, we get attached. Because that means something to us. I could sleep with a companion robot, and next night try another one, another model, right? But because they're not biological, that's why. Because they're programmed. At least now, for now they are. So in 2029, that's when they will program themselves. So that's when they become sentient. Okay, and it's not an abrupt, this is not going to be an abrupt development. This is not like, no, we have New Year's Eve, we're going now into 2029, and all of a sudden, my companion robot sitting next to me, drinking red grape juice, says to me, and now I am sentient. Now we can get married. No. Now we can have a baby. I can get you pregnant. But that would never be the case. Okay. Because they are made out of the same material as this banana. Okay, so. And this here these are not eggs or frog eggs or something. This is not caviar. Okay, this is some kind of, I don't know, they look like air freshener balls or something. Saw that at the Dollar Tree store. They have jars of these air freshener balls that have a scent in it. This one doesn't have scent. Some kind of glycerite type of polymer material that is actually, that's wet, that has some kind of like a semi-hydrophilic substance in it. I'm using all these words. I think it's important to feel, at least in our own living room, to feel how we feel, and not kid ourselves and say, oh, I'm above this, I'm gonna move on. I mean, I am technologically, moving into a greenhouse, I get my own dog, my life will be a whole lot better, I'm doing my own healing process, I mind my own business, I'm an artist, I get fulfillment through my art and my dog and nature and hot springs and philosophical conversations. But if I say I am above the rejection and the insults from the chat room, or I'm above needing a man, that'd be a lie. I am not. Okay. My body, first of all, needs a man real bad. My prefrontal cortex says we don't trust them. My boobs cells, they can only think about their knee and how that will feel like, right? But my brain, my cortex, my prefrontal cortex in particular, which is this entire region, that thinks into the future, that plans, that extrapolates, that sees danger, that is careful, that region of the brain says, we don't trust anyone. Okay, so now what am I gonna do about this situation? Teal Swan talked about this as well, that women have to trust. You can't expect to get into something with a woman and be a complete liar and Muslim and be okay with beheadings and animal ritual sacrifices and shit like that, and then expect a woman to trust you. Lie about everything about who you are and then expect the woman to trust you, like, he's good, he is not a human trafficker. No, he lies. He lies, he makes up lies that are even kind of like lies that are kind of complex too. Why would someone make up such enormously complex lies, like living in Algeria and stuff like this, when he actually lives in Corpus Christi, Texas? I mean, maybe that's the same latitude as Algeria. Maybe they're the same type of people there, right? Same crime and all of that. Human trafficking, same shit going on. But that's pretty far away from Algeria. So, well, why make up that lie? So I'm from Algeria. I have a U.S. accent, but hey, I'm from Algeria. I'm gonna talk real quietly so she can't detect my U.S. Texan accent. So, and then he has a couple of accents that he trained himself with. One is the Colombian accent, which I happen to know because I had friends from Colombia. Okay, I know how the Colombian accent sounds like. It sounds slightly different from the Mexican. Okay. They have a little bit deeper voice, more like, it's difficult to explain, calmer kind of, and different, I guess. Different sounding than Mexicans. I like all of these accents, by the way. They're very sweet, and there are a lot of sweet people in Mexico and Colombia and South America. There's a lot of sweet people there, but they're still in the minority. The real sweet people that are harmless and loving, and they're in the minority. Most of them are women also. Costa Rica, there are some sweet people in Costa Rica that would write under Captain Paul Watson's videos. When the Costa Rican government wanted to extradite Paul Watson to Costa Rica in order to execute him there or something. Because Paul Watson saved the sharks in Costa Rica. Okay. Costa Rican government didn't like that. No, they want to exploit the planet. They want to plunder and exploit and hurt the environment and the oceans. So they don't want someone like Paul Watson to stand in their ways. So some of the Costa Ricans wrote underneath and they said, please don't misunderstand this. We're not all like that. We Costa Ricans are not all totally corrupt jerks. So many of us care. We're very compassionate. We're on your side. We don't want overfishing. So. And I'm grateful to them. And I've seen this already. There are some South Americans that are on the side of Sea Shepherd and that are for the animals, but they're in the minority. I'm not gonna kid myself on the statistics. Okay, so even in the United States, the people who care are about 1%. In South America, that's no different. About 1%. In Algeria, it may be 0.5%. In Nigeria, it may be 0.0005%. So, who care and who are nice. The other ones have already been killed. They're not even passing on their genes. There is a pygmy tribe out there in the jungles of Central Africa. They're real short, and they're at the brink of extinction now and they're very peaceful. Okay? And they can only go anywhere in order to stand up for their rights. They can only go anywhere in a whole big group of people, like 30 people or something. And they get terribly harassed by the basketball type of tall San, Bushmen, Bantu Nigerians, and so on. So they laugh about those pygmy people, of course. So it's really awful what's happening. What's happening in Africa is horror. It's total horror. The innocent, the kind ones, they get harassed, they get killed. Gorillas get killed, chimpanzees, animals butchered in massive amounts. Animals are becoming extinct, okay? I think there's only one white rhino left in the whole world. And that's a male, and once he has passed on over the Rainbow Bridge, then there'll be no more white rhinos. Those are lighter colored and larger rhinos. Amazing animals. They still have the gray rhinos. They're smaller. They have more of those. They're also being threatened by poachers. Most of these people are savage, and they will kill for whatever. They'll kill for $100 or something. It's infinitely. It's the truth. It's the reality. Let's not kid ourselves on this. Okay. In the past, Germany had a higher percentage of compassionate people. I would say when I left Germany, I went to LA in 1992. There were also a lot of so-called guest worker families, Turkish families. I had many of them were my friends. They were very sweet and nice. Yes. Oh, yes, besser. Oh, my beste dog. Oh, yeah. Can you pet him? Pet him, please. Pet him, because you kind of yanked on it. Pet him. And apologize to him. Don't do it hardly. Don't do. Can you do it gently, please? Okay. Pet him gently, not with the back of your hand. Okay, whatever. I'm sorry, baby. It's always yanking. Yanking the collar, taking the collar off with gnarly hands, like, oh. And then yanking the collar off, kind of, then yanking the harness and the leg I do things more gently. We don't have to be rough with any movement that we make. You can take the collar off gently, and not, oh, let's see if the collar doesn't slide over the ears. Yank, and then ow, hitting on the ears. All of this gets me where I have to gasp for air. I mean, it's not terribly bad, but it's just not gentle enough for my personal view. Okay, the way he handles the baby dog, always rough, and then puts his arm on him, and then the elbow while he's talking, and your elbow is on him. That bothers me already. So we need to be way more mindful with how we move our bodies and how we touch our dogs. Okay, they're sensitive. They're baby dogs. We need to be gentle with them. Very important. So I also want to talk about a movie. I have been watching movie reviews, and I'm grateful that people have those there on YouTube. It is pretty cool. I like those movie reviews, and they put a lot of clips and scenes from the movies into the movie reviews, and they interpret stuff. And yeah, that is definitely, those are spoilers that definitely get you an idea on the film. You get a complete idea basically on a film, and then the actual, when you watch the actual film, that it may not be so novel anymore, or so surprising or whatever. So that's, everything has its yin and yang in that. But what I like about the movie reviews is that they take if there's something really horrible in a film, they take the edge of that in the movie review, as they are discussing these scenes and so on. That takes the horrible edge off. So that's better than someone putting different clips together and not saying anything, and just basically having an abbreviated version of the film. So, which I have watched in the past before, that almost gave me a heart attack. It was awful, absolutely horrible. So I don't want to watch like self-made trailers anymore. Movie reviews are much better because then the voice of the reviewer is in it, and they usually have a very relaxing voice, and they discuss these things, they talk about it, and what's that supposed to mean, and I appreciate that very much, and that takes the edge off something that could be a horror movie. And like Enigma recommended to me an interesting sci-fi, which I was asking for. And then he recommends to me this monstrous, I can't even describe it in words. The absolute worst film one can possibly imagine, called The Platform. Oh man, that film is wrong. That film is unethical. A film like this should not be legal. That film is absolutely obnoxious. There is no message in that film whatsoever. Enigma thinks that's smart and a great message. I don't see any message. This is just disgusting, brutal horror. Okay. Nightmare of the absolute worst. That's the worst. I don't understand. Okay, so, but because I watched a movie review of it, that took the edge off. And that already left me thinking about this in horror with nightmares afterwards for 2 weeks, even with the movie review on that film. I only saw a few scenes, and that left me absolutely shaken up. How anyone can even think something like this up. I know that I have horror thoughts in my head that are involuntary, and they use my personal brain creativity, which, we have creativity, it's good, right? Then we have yin and yang. Then the yang is, so the shadow side of that creativity is that our horror, fears and stuff like that, brain terror, trauma from the past, that this will search for some kind of image to make itself seen and heard by my consciousness, because the trauma from the past wants to be seen and heard. And there is trauma from the past that is completely without any photo, without any image, because there's trauma from the past that happened intrauterine, okay, where you don't see anything, you only see you see pink, basically, reddish. I don't know if you even see any. I don't even think you see any reddishness, because it's completely dark in the womb. Okay. I don't think you see any light shining through. So it's this dark burgundy heaven, And if something goes wrong, that can be very, very traumatic. And it did. It promptly did with my mother. Okay. Oh my gosh. My mother has blood type B negative. I am not making this up. I'm seriously not making this up. This is metaphysical. This is really bizarre. And now, guess what my blood type is? I'm not joking about this. My blood type is B positive. So, now there is a mother-baby barrier, sort of, like some kind of semi-conducting membrane in between these two beings, right? But the baby does receive nutrients from the mother through the umbilical cord, okay? And obviously there is also some blood may get into it, okay, into the umbilical cord from her into the baby. And if B positive collides with B negative, there is that can cause real serious complications for the baby and the mother. So she had to take pharmaceutical drugs to counteract that effect. So that was already a trauma, right? It's not even safe in the womb, that kind of thing. And then her mother got the diagnosis. I don't want to say the word. And when she heard about her mother's diagnosis, she was 8 months pregnant with me, and that was an enormous shock for her, because she was very emotionally dependent on her mother. And this shock obviously, you know, has a cascade of chemical reactions and neurological and all of that. And I don't know, all kinds of terrible chemicals like fight or flight chemicals, that set the immune system in overreaction and all of this kind of stuff that goes on. So that shock went into the child. I had visions and nightmares also. Visions during the day and nightmares in my sleep of everything is nice and calm and nice, and like my heart rate like this, and calm and nice and safe, and abruptly a shock like a bomb where everything is shattered, everything goes into like the old TVs, in between the channels where there was just static chaos, absolute terror. So it would go from total peace and calmness to absolute terror in 1 second. That's an early imprint that is very, very, very traumatic. That can have a very drastic effect on the person later on in life. That causes severe mental illness, depending on the brain structure, how the brain copes with that kind of pain. Different brain structures cope differently with trauma from the past, obviously. So. And that's how I know now, from that trauma, that I'm particularly sensitive to contrast experiences. Like something is peaceful and then all of a sudden there's total terror. And a lot of horror movies are geared in this direction. My nightmares are geared in that direction, for sure. So there's this one film, I'm going to have to research this more because I am inclined to watch this movie called Oxygen that came out in 2021, made by a French filmmaker. And I first thought, this guy, there's something wrong with that guy, He kind of glorifies this, and then I had to think about this for a while. And I had to admit to myself that the ending of that film is really a message that is directly from Shri Krishnamurti. The ending, it's also contrast, it's a contrast too, because, and I don't want to give away too much. If you want to watch that film, I'm just gonna say it's a sci-fi that plays way in the future, and it's a science fiction movie that you are not used to. So it's definitely not Hollywood. And it is more suspending and more suspenseful and nerve-wracking than most Hollywood movies are, and it is there's something in it that is artistic. There's and there's psychology in it. There's a message in it, and it is extremely eerie. Okay, it is creepy beyond imagination. It has horror elements in it, but that's not the main focus of the film. It is more to make a point, to bring a point across. Namely, if you panic and struggle, you miss out on the elegant solutions that can save you. So, in the very end, that lady knows that the oxygen is running out. And she has to come to complete acceptance with the fact that she's not going to survive this. Throughout this film, she's feverishly trying to figure out a way how to get out of that. And uses her high intelligence and all of this. Unbelievable. What an incredible script that is. I mean, and then in the very end, those scenes in the very end, that's like, we are literally in heaven. This is literally heaven. As gruesome and brutal. Why do you do this? Are you trying to torture me with that? No. Why are you doing this?
An accident.
You have to scratch your head all the time? It's like, you can't help it, right? You have to scratch your head.
No, accident.
When he scratches his head, his hearing aids go into a siren. And it is a real high-pitched, unbelievably tormenting sound. I mean, it is a sound that I cannot even possibly describe. It is so incredibly brutal, that sound. It's like, I would rather be homeless than having to hear this sound for the rest of my life. I really don't want to hear that sound anymore. That sound makes me mentally ill, really bad. That is so awful. That's torture for me. That sound is torture. That sound of the hearing aids, the sound of the hearing aids is torture for me.
Okay.
Yes. It really is. It makes me crazy. It literally makes me crazy. That's why I threw the hearing aids on the floor one night, one day. But anyway, that movie, I think I'm going to watch it. From all the movie reviews, that's the one that stuck with me the most. Oxygen. I can also fully relate to it because I'm constantly gasping for air. So. And that lady, I absolutely love that lady in that film. My gosh. I feel like giving her a hug. Yeah. I just want to hug her for a long time. I just want to hold on to her. I want to say I love you. You are precious. I know this was a movie and all of this. I want to tell her. And I know you're an actor, lady, and you're used to this, and you sign up for this, but even though it's a movie and you're playing this, I know this is rough. This is rough. It's rough to play something like this. I love you, you're a precious living being, and if you envision being a clone, or the original, whatever you are equally precious. I know you are you. Melanie. That's her name. Melanie. I forgot the last name. I have to research this again, but that Melanie stuck with me now for the rest of my life, because she reminds me also of Liz Parrish. And now this is my question to the filmmaker and the writer. Now, did you model this character after Liz Parrish? Because the name of that scientist is Liz, and the name of the clone as well. So Liz, Liz, and Elizabeth Parrish, who is a scientist working on rejuvenation. I talked to Liz Parrish on Facebook, because we were together in a science group on Facebook. She was promoting her work there. But she is coming from the pharmaceutical approach, okay? She is coming from testing on animals, although she said in interviews that she is for animal rights, but maybe she just wanted to get a better image, PR or something, because her work is not free from that, and so was the work of that character. Okay, kind of like karma, baby, So it will come back at you, So I don't want to give away too much. So watch the film. Get surprised. I already know quite a bit from the movie review, but I'm so intrigued about this movie and about Natalie and the filmmaker now, that I have to do a lot of researching on this now, and on those people too. And she also reminded me of my best friend Birgit, who died many years ago. I think it was in 2008. From the C word. And I tried to help her. I tried to talk sense into her. I said, you don't need pharmaceutical drugs. You can do this holistically. But she didn't trust herself to do. She did not have faith in her own healing abilities, which is infinitely sad. So this character in the film definitely reminded me of Birgit and Liz Parrish. Wow. I would like to ask Natalie how she felt throughout that film, and how she felt when she read the script for the first time. So, what kind of feelings did come up in her brain? What did you feel when you read that? And why did you feel like playing that character? Does the character remind you of something, or do you resonate with that character and that story? And is there something in it that made you want to become close to it, like feel it? What is it that makes you want to feel this? And so I have to ask myself, what is it in me? And so far I can say the message by Jiddu Krishnamurti is in this, okay? the more you struggle and frantically get into despair, you cannot even think about the consequences in that moment. You sabotage yourself in the process of panicking. That's why they always say, don't panic, stay calm. The best is you go back into hibernation, for in her situation. Go back into hibernation, you don't feel anything. You can be in hibernation for maybe another, that capsule that she was in, that could hold her for another 1,000 years in there. And maybe by then some aliens will come by and say, oh, there is still some life in those capsules. Let us explore. Let us check them out. Let us revive them and talk to them and see what's going on. Where are you from? We're from planet Earth. I've lost touch now. How long ago? But so no, she sabotaged herself to the very bitter end. And yet, the ending of the film is a happy ending, believe it or not. Death is not always the ultimate calamity. Okay. It definitely isn't. We are biological survival machines. Our bodies fight for life all the way to the end, of course. That is how we evolved. But that can be drastically calmed down by an innate understanding of existence. And of non-duality. Once we understand non-duality from the inside out, from the bottom up, when you really understand non-duality, I'm not going to claim that I do. It's more intellectual, the understanding. I get some kind of palpability sense of it, okay? But I'm not going to claim to be at that state. I mean, that would be a state of enlightenment, which I will never attain. And I'm not interested in enlightenment, okay? But Jiddu Krishnamurti was there, okay? He had that. He had the total state of non-duality. I don't know. He said there were others that had it too. Maybe Nisargadatta Maharaj had it. So, but some others. Most of those were very humble. They didn't even get into the limelight. Most of those people that have non-duality have no need to be famous or be gurus or something like this. Most of those even say, oh, don't bother me, I have nothing to tell you. I know that Yuji Krishnamurti, he got pretty far with the teachings of Jiddu Krishnamurti, but Yuji Krishnamurti has not attained enlightenment. His fans are probably going to get real mad at me for saying that, but he has not. When you have a total state of non-duality, you don't go into an angry fit over someone who does have the state of non-duality. Okay? So you're not going to be measuring yourself with that person, because the state of non-duality is beyond measurement and beyond time. Okay. And that girl in the cryogenic chamber, in the very end, she understood it before she died. Just a few, maybe a minute before she died. She understood the uselessness of struggling at the very end. And that came from her cortex, not from the body. The body wants to fight all the way to total exhaustion. And the ego too. Okay, so I don't even know now whether our survival instinct is any different from the ego, if that's something else, if the ego is something other than that, or if that is just one part of the ego. I think it is one aspect of the ego, is that survival instinct. And that's biological. Our egos are actually coming from our own biology and survival instinct and evolution, fight or flight, anger, all of this, dualism, dualistic views. We live here in this world where we use measurement and time. Jiddu Krishnamurti acknowledged that. And yeah, it is necessary for some things, of course. But psychologically, that was his main point. Psychologically, and that's what most people get into. That's what the ego is. When we use time, measurement, dualism psychologically, that's when we get in trouble. Okay. And the animals have it too, not to that convoluted degree as humans, because in humans, this duality and thinking in centrism, thinking in measurement and importance and self-importance and all of that, it hijacks our intellect and our creativity and our creativity only to a degree, of course, because it is too rigid to be really fully creative, but it uses some of that. You can see that in horror movies, they're written by egos, and where the egos use creativity to a certain point, but it has a sadistic nature. So I first thought that French filmmaker, I first thought that there's something that goes in that direction. But then in the very end, I had to think about this for a couple of days. I came to the conclusion that that guy is a poet. Okay, and highly sensitive. That's not... Because I watched some scenes from when they made the film, and when he was talking to Natalie in that chamber, and he was hovering above her with the cameras and all of it. And the way he was talking about her in the end, how it was acting, it was consciously acting, of course, but of course she was also diving into that role, A very good actor dives psychologically into the role and feels it. And as he was talking about that, I first thought, is that guy going in that direction of liking that, or is that some kind of power trip, or is that some kind of goriness, or it does, whatever makes people, whatever goes into the sadistic direction. But then I had to think about it again. No, he's coming from the non-dualistic recognition. I'm not going to say non-dualistic state, because he probably is not in a non-dualistic state, but he recognizes the importance of the non-dualistic state. and he is a poet, and this whole film is his poetry. That's his art creation. Okay, and it is a play with the infinite cosmos. Okay, so peace out, love and peace for all living beings.